we can recognize performative acts with the agenda to appease our people. Trump can only pardon at a federal level. Hoover still has life with the state. So at the end of the day ended with the same result as yesterday. Next comment. No, we got to stop glorifying gang leaders that contributed to the detriment of our community. Next comment. He was a gangster that contributed to the demise and destruction of his own black community. Let's not do this. Crawl, and they said Chance because that's the person. Chance the Rapper made a post about him defending him. So they said, Chance, crawl back into the hole you came out of. Next comment. Meanwhile, grandma Medicaid is being taken away, but NBA is back. Y'all so celebrity obsessed. Next comment. Y'all acting like he's Fred Hampton or something. This is ridiculous. And this is going to be the last comment I read, and you could make your response. And like I said, I'm going to post this for people who may not be privy to the information on people in this as the people on this channel. Indeed, he was a where is it? Hold up, y'all. All right, I'm gonna end it there because I don't see. I'm gonna see it there. What do you think about those comments on Instagram and TikTok?
It shows how either those people are not our people and don't understand our culture, or they've been successfully indoctrinated by the assimilation system that Garvey warned us about. Because once you believe that the system is working in your interest, anybody that they villainize is going to be your villain, and anybody that they make a hero is going to be your hero. This is how we get caught up in celebrity worship, as one of the comments was about celebrities. The celebrity worship is they give us celebrities in place of leadership. So we had a bunch of children in the 80s called rappers that came out as children and told us about leadership in music. So they had to shut it down. These people was waged a war against us, and propaganda warfare is more powerful than bullets and gun warfare, because under bullets and gun warfare, you can clearly see the enemy busting at you. But when you go into propaganda warfare, your enemy controls the media, your enemy controls the banking system, your enemy controls the education of your child, that your enemy controls your entertainment, right? Your enemy controls where you're going to work, if you're going to be able to stay there. Your enemy control all political arenas from the local level to the federal level and everything in the middle. Your enemy has placed admiralty judges across the land to give you the appearance of legitimacy. Your enemy has put uniforms on and flooded the community because they foreign agents. They have to clearly identify themselves. If you don't understand none of that stuff, then you speaking presumptuously without knowing why you feel the way you feel. The only reason why you don't know that you've been indoctrinated and brainwashed is because you've been indoctrinated and brainwashed. I don't even like to say brainwashed. I like to say contaminated mind, because to wash something is to cleanse it. So I think most of us need to be brainwashed, because they gave us so much filth to put our trust in a government that has nothing to do with the people. That's not actually a government. It's actually a corporation, like Halliburton did in Iraq and Afghanistan. They repeating the same history over and over, but you have people that still don't know what's going on in the world around them, so they derive opinions based off propaganda warfare. And you're going to always, when you base your opinion off propaganda, you're going to always show yourself by the stance you take on the topic you do not understand, but you think you do. Right? Neely Fuller was quoted by Francis Wellesley in the ISIS papers. And it said, the quote she quoted him as saying is, if you don't understand white supremacy, then everything that you think you understand is only confusing you. I come from the school of thought and didn't feel like this. We're not always supposed to all agree all the time. That's foolish. People have a right to have a different opinion than I have, a different understanding of the same material that we both read than I have. They may see stuff in there that I don't see. I may see stuff in there that they don't see. That goes to individuality. The person being able to express themselves and to tell you what they see, but also able to understand and listen to what you see. That gave you 2 points of view on the same subject matter, and now you use it as comparative analysis to reconcile the differences in the two. This is exactly the process of questioning that Neely Fuller give in the United Independent Compensatory Code in order to combat the ideology of white supremacy. White supremacy is an actual operative war protocol being instituted under the all 9 areas or 10 areas of people activity. The blueprint or the definition of what it is written as protocols of the learned elders of Zion, which is billed as a fictitious document, but everything that they say them people is doing in that book, they actually doing it in real life. And if you understood the book, you can look around and you can see that the people that's in charge of everything in the book told you what they was going to try to get in charge of. And they did it. And the only reason they was more successful than us is because they was teaching us something called rugged individualism, where we can pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps when we don't have boots. So this is how they get us seduced into fighting for them instead of fighting to liberate our own self and our own mind. That's why Larry say we not gang banging, we brain banging. Get in the library and read the books. Read the whole library if you can. The law library, the art library, whatever library you get into, read it. Because as the information mature in your mind, you'll be able to see the problem better. So those people that make those comments, they entitled to say whatever they want to say, but that don't make them right. Right? Like somebody brought up the Alliance Credit Union case. More of the Alliance Credit Union, and they was telling me that the case was fictitious, so I had to go double back and found that it was based on the ruling of a tax case, Moore versus United States, but somebody used it to put the information as to how to defend against the mortgage fraud in the case based on that other case. So it's like a parody. The thing about it is there's a 1890 something case or early 1900s case out of it's either Minnesota or Wisconsin in the Northwest Territory that tells how the person who had the mortgage was defrauded because the bank never gave them anything of value. Right? And that case still stands, but nobody uses it to fight their mortgage claims. Right? But the more of the Alliance Credit Union is using the same information that was used in the prior case to write the parody based on the more of the United States case. And I had to go back and look into that. But the information is not always accurate. You guys to be able to withstand correction if you want to move beyond the error. Ain't nobody perfect. We ain't supposed to believe everything that everybody say anyway. We supposed to believe what our inner self tell us about what they say more than we believe what they say. Because once you become your first point of reference, you begin to see through a lot of the misaligned information. Like the villainizing of words is critical to propaganda warfare. Tribe and gang mean the same thing. And matter of fact, not only do they mean the same thing, democracy at its root, where the majority rule by vote, ties back into them same two words, tribe and gang. Right? It's called mob rule in democracy. And when you go back to just read Plato's Republic, and you realize that all of the stuff they're doing is a big stage play, in order to occupy the mortal mind while they rule the world. Right? So those people can have their opinions and they can believe everything they want to believe. But Iran-Contra proves that the government was bringing the dope in, flooding our communities with it.
You know, Rod, so you talked about the stage play that's happening while certain elite, so-called elite, rule the world. This so-called elite, Phil calls them the parasitic elite. They have access to a lot of information we don't have access to.
Yes, they do.
They hide a lot of information and use it for themselves, or or they flood the world with misinformation just to confuse the people. You are a very spiritual brother. Obviously, we all know at this point. One of the things that you do is astral travel. And you told me we had the conversation on the phone. You told me you astral traveled and came across the information in this book. What I want to ask you, let's get a little deeper now. We talked about, the surface level of this thing. Let's get a little spiritual with this thing here. If you astral travel and you're coming across certain information, I'm sure you come across certain spirits when you astral travel. Have you ever came across the elite, the so-called elite, while you're astral traveling, because they're trying to obtain the same information you're trying to obtain, because they know where the fuck to go to get it? It's in your DNA. You know, but you don't know, but you running into the motherfuckers and they're like, what you doing here? And you like, what you doing here? And you're there at the same time. Have you ever ran into them astral traveling, my brother?
Well, you gotta remember, one of the things that you learn when you practicing sorcery is cloak magic.
Yeah.
Cloaking magic, they might look like a disincarnate being of a grotesque nature, or they can look extremely attractive. It don't matter, as long as you don't see the person for who they are. The same magic is being played on us in the physical realm that they use in the astral to hide themselves while they do their dirt. Franz Bardone wrote a book called Forbato the Magician. And in the book, Forbato the Magician, they made a movie about it with Perry Mason in it.
Okay.
Anyway, he was talking about his war with the dark sorcerers in the book. And it's a fiction, but it's loosely based on his life. Right? And he's telling how they use magic, and you can sense the magic better than you can sense who's sending it. Right? So they was using rituals against him, and then he was using counter magic, protection magic, to block him out from doing anything to him. Right? So on the astral plane, normally if somebody have malice, they don't astral travel. Most of the elites today don't use spirit science. They use technology to do the same thing that you do spiritually. Right? While we was astral traveling, they was learning remote viewing, but they was also developing a computer program that can do massive amounts of mathematical equations called Operation Looking Glass. Right? And they got frustrated with it because no matter what scenario they put in, it was always a 2012 convergence from every angle they looked at the problem, no matter what they tried to interject as a different variable. Right? So they use technology because a lot of them don't have access to the spirit realm, the astral realm, the etheric realms. They don't have access. So they use the technology in the 3D world as if it was magic. But they don't astral travel much. Normally what you find in the astral travel is you find somebody that was a convert or a loyalist to the elites. And they haphazardly traveling, they don't even know what they're doing. And you bump into them, and it's like bumping into somebody that don't really understand where they at on the street. Like, where am I at? You can clearly sense their sense of amnesia. That means they traveling, but they don't know they traveling. They think they just having a dream.
What's your thoughts on? I think I seen you post something on Instagram. Let me pull it up real quick. Shout out to y'all in the chat. What we got going on in the chat? We got about 3,400 people in here. Shout out to all of y'all. Let me pull up something with Rod. Give me 1 second, y'all. Take a 2-second break in the chat. Your Instagram is the SikApe, right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. You put up something about okay. Let me share this. I want to give y'all a visual. I could have just asked Rod the question, but
The powerhouse of all cells is mitochondria.
yes.
The solar flares is scanning, they bursting information to the earth.
Mm-hmm.
The earth is responding in Schumann resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the solar rays are coming through, it also pass through the people.
Mm-hmm.
They call photons.
Mm-hmm.
The photons accumulate at the core of the earth, and the data is exchanged with the earth's core.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then the earth sends out a Schumann blast that responds to the solar flare. And also the passes through the people in order to get the message back to the sun. So this is the dawn of a new age. So first they got to calibrate solar flare Schumann resonance response. Once they get calibrated, it's going to be what they call the great solar flare. When that one hit, the earth is going to do what's called Atlas shrug. It's going to shiver at the core. We're not going to feel an earthquake when it shivers. But what it's going to do is send out a broadband wavelength of Schumann resonance that serve as a parasite removal for any artificial mitochondrial connected beings. That means that they ain't originally from here and they fabricated the mitochondrial in order to be able to occupy here. Well,
Whoa.
at the close of the age, the earth know who everybody is genetically because we all imprinted on the earth's core. So when she sent out the blast, anybody that's on the wrong frequency, they belong here will come back in the future under the conditions that allow them to attain the proper frequency. But the ones that's not from here, they gonna be talking about they hear sirens in their head.
Damn.
They gonna have nose bleed, eyes, ears bleeding. But that's Schumann resonant blast. Some of them is just gonna turn them straight off.
Whoa. What does that
but
look
other,
like? Turning them off. What does that look like?
And walking down the street and you just drop dead.
Shit.
You driving down in your car, you just die. It's like somebody just turn your brain off or turn your heart off, like it with a switch. You go in immediate slump mode.
Yeah.
Those are what Bobby Hemmett referred to as spirit artificial. Right? We got rid of them before, but they loyalists that won't be here this time called them back in. You talk about that in the Emerald Tablets, the Dark Brothers.
What do they say about the Dark Brothers in the Emerald 10? This is Thoth speaking. I asked somebody real quick, Rod. I asked somebody. I forgot. I didn't ask so many questions, Rod. I forgot who I asked this to. When you talk about Thoth and the different names of Thoth, Hermes, Jehuti, you never hear a white person saying Jehuti. They'll say Thoth, they'll say Hermes, they might even say Tahuti, but the actual pronunciation of Jehuti, the D and the J, it's like, and I forgot who I asked this question to. I was like, when you talked about the boy king, Tutankhamun, and you said Tupac was the reincarnation of Tutankhamun. Whenever white people, and I'm not trying to get shots at white people, y'all know what I'm talking about when I say this, because a lot of white people think that white aren't really white, but y'all know what I'm talking about. When certain white people say the name Tupac, they always say Tupac. They never say Tupac. They always say Tupac. And it's like, you done heard this is the most famous rapper that ever existed. One of them, You heard his name over and over, but you could pronounce Arnold Schwarzenegger. You could pronounce all these complicated white names, but when you say Tupac, they'll say Tupac. So why you never hear white person say Jehuti? What is it about the frequency of the vibration? Because we always talk about Tahuti, but the frequency of Jehuti, you never hear nobody say that. Only a few people, the elders, say that.
Most of the pale faces speech pattern comes from Latin and Greek.
Mm-hmm.
And the Latin pronunciation of Jehuti is Tehuti.
Mm.
So when they pronounce it, they're going to lean toward the pronunciation given to them by the Latin or the Greek.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the same with us that's from the South.
Mm.
We don't drink water in the South. We drink water.
Okay.
Everybody down South know what I just said. We don't drink water down South. We drink water.
Water. Okay, I got you.
Like, and that goes with cultural influence on the vocal inflections of a language and pronouncing foreign languages in the new tongue. It go back to Grimm's Law of Grammar for transliteration and translation.
Mm-hmm.
The D and the J in Kemet was one letter.
It was one letter, yeah.
Yeah, but when you spell it like the name Jehuti, it's one letter.
Mm.
But when you use the letters of the Greek alphabet, what we call the alpha beta system, it only can be either the D or the J. It can't be both, right? Because there's no sound in the Greek alphabet for the combining inflections of the DJ connection.
Mm.
But when you speaking it from the Greek or the Latin, which means you speaking it from a Spanish tongue, the Spanish or the Latin would be more closer to accurately pronouncing Jehuti than the Greek, right? But those are the primary two scholarly languages from Europe.
Mm.
You know, Russian is a spinoff of Greek and Latin fusion, right? Then all those other tongues that come from those primary two tongues. The Greek priests was priestesses out of Kemet that was sent to settle Greece, and they wrote the Greek language. Well, the Etruscans needed a scholarly language, so they wrote Latin. Latin is considered a dead language because its original form hasn't changed, but Spanish and spin-off languages like French and Portuguese become what you call the living language because you add foreign words to expand the language. The original English language only had like 300-400 words. But now, when you get an encyclopedic dictionary, it's probably a couple million words in there. At least a couple thousand. You know, that's what give you them big, thick dictionaries. And then when you find out that the majority of the English words not even English, a lot of words was derived from the languages of the natives of this land. That they got words from India, words from China and Japan, and then they transliterated the word into an English rendition. It's just like Chinese food in America ain't Chinese food. That's from San Francisco Bay. The same thing as what Taco Bell ain't Mexican food. That's food that imitates Mexican culture. What they call cultural appropriation. Mexicans don't make food that tastes like Taco Bell. It tastes better.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like when we cooked our food at the Greasy Spoon joint, it tastes just like my mama cooked it or my auntie cooked it. But Taco Bell don't taste like Mexicans cook that. It tastes like some people that just learned how to add seasoning to their food cooked it. You know, it's the same with the language.
Yeah,
it's what they call it, the sauce. It's the sauce in the language.
So yeah, there you go.
You know, and then when we take a word, we gonna make it our own anyway. Look at what word you give us. We gonna redefine it and repurpose it and use it how we want to use it. And we don't care how you told us we should be using it. We're going to do it our way. That's the tribal tradition over here.
You know what's, I'm gonna tell you, like, this is some shit I just thought of, Rod. There's some interesting shit now. This ain't no book shit, y'all. This some shit I just thought of. I'm on my Bobby Hemmings shit. Y'all all right? Now listen, yo, Jehuti, the D and the J, there's not many words like you in the English that utilizes that. So people start just saying Tahuti or whatever. Yo, you know what's crazy, Rob? One of the only words I could think of that uses that is the DJ, the record DJ. Chicka, 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 chicka. He plays the records, nigga. Jehuti is describing the God. He gives us the record. Nigga, come on. There's got to be a connect. The DJ plays all the records, the music of the gods. What Jehuti? Oh my God. The DJ and the Jehuti, the DJ. Nigga, come on, man. The DJ and the DJ. Let's talk about it. The DJ, my nigga. Oh, listen, man. Dude.
The musical culture.
He was the ancient DJ, y'all. Tahuti.
Yeah. Like a lot of people don't recognize him with the flute because he's also Pan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. When you go study Tahuti and Kemet, they tell you he is the father of medicine, the father of science, or they call him the netter. He's the netter of history, the netter of hieroglyphic writing cards. That means that he's a netter of divination. So when you get done finding out like Ty, they say he's the fashioner of man. But Tahuti is the wisdom or the breath in man. Right? So now you had a man making men, but you still need a God to make him come alive. Right? So the mythologies is when you get to your wit's end and you calling them up in hierarchy. Once the boy king come and he denied his duty, his recognition, his proper place in the society, he gonna call for the biggest dog he can find. He not gonna call for the one next in line. He gonna call for the one that everybody don't want to see. Right? So when Tupac say, when I'm after me, this next dude ain't gonna have no mercy, this is what he talking about, because he know the culture, he know the art. The culture and the art, you can't separate the art from the culture. We still playing Mississippi Delta blues, but we just put it on a break beat and made it rhyme. But we was rhyming over blues tracks. You know what I'm saying? So, the rhyming is nothing new to us, and it's how we use it that make the difference. Like earlier, I was quoting Ice Cube. You know, and yeah. So sometimes you might hear me quote Rakim. Sometimes it might be Brother Jake. Sometimes it might be Black Thought. Right? But the end game goal was for hip hop to produce Eminem. They had to produce a white pop. That was the whole mission at the beginning, spiritually speaking. Because if he don't got that drop of blood, he won't be able to flip them words. He don't got that drop of blood, he won't be able to flip them words. And that's why when some pale faces rap, they sound mechanical.
Very mechanical. Very mechanical.
But then you got the other ones that got that flow. It's the same when you got Mexicans, they got that flow. You hardly ever hear them sound mechanical. You had the only brother in the last 30, 40 years that was sounding mechanical was Chubb Rock. And he was still riding that beat, banging out them tracks. Right? But if you go back further, that was the standard under Curtis Blow, the Cold Crush crew. It was the beginning of it. It was the developmental phases of learning rhyme patterns. Then Rakim came, and LL came, and Run came, and they changed the delivery of them by putting rhyming words in places that other people didn't think to put them in. See, Rakim say some of my rap patterns still surround Saturn. Think about that for a lyric, right? The maximum amount of information in one bar. Some of my rap patterns still surround Saturn.
Hey, Rob, what was it, Chub Rock? I remember Chub Rock, the heavy set.
1990, Chubb Rock jumps up on the scene with the green and the hardcore dream. The dream wasn't crafted to be pornographic.
There you go. There you go. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Damn, man. Oh, man. Reminiscing on our music. What was the hook of that song? Do you remember the hook of that track right there? The one you
treat him right. Go treat him right.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah.
They be like, hoo, hoo, hoo. Treat him right. See, y'all, I know some of this. Yo, damn, man. Oh, man. Yo, this is a beautiful thing, man, to reminisce on music. Oh, man. That's what they did in the movie Sinners, y'all. Oh, man, that's a beautiful thing. Right. So let me ask you this, man. Having a good time as usual. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got 3,800 people in the chat. I gotta ask you, man. Before I go there, because I was gonna go to the whole September thing and the Virgo season and how things are lining up and all of that. And it's interesting. Well, let me say this. What's interesting, Ron? Let me say this. You did a show with me. What's this? 2025, so-called 2020. I think. The beginning of 2024, we did a show in the beginning of the year, and you was like, yo, we entered the golden age. And you was like, what was that name? The Mahabharata? What was it called?
The Maherta.
Maherta. It was the Maherta, right? And you was telling people about how we got ushered into the golden age. One of the first things Trump said, since we're talking about Trump, when he became president, he said he's going to bring us into the golden age. Who does Trump... For Trump to be doing the shit you talking about, Rod, man, who does Trump work for, man? You talk about Larry Hoover, Trump get into this Larry Hoover shit. You talk about the golden age, Trump talk about the gold. Who Trump work for, man? We be saying this shit, man. Who Trump work for? How? Because he be into some esoteric shit, I see. Even the way he talks about magic and the way he manifests things into this realm. Who does this man work for, brother?
He's working for military high command. The military high command is right now operating not in the Pentagon. Everybody that's in the Pentagon is isolated. That's where the traitors at.
Okay.
The people that Trump worked for is in Colorado and Raven Rock, in where if something happens, they're supposed to usher all of the most important people on the land into the bunker, like in case of nuclear war. That's not gonna happen, but it has happened before. But it ain't gonna happen because it's not required. It's not necessary. But he worked for military high command transitional government team. They're commonly referred to as the White Hats. And there was a group of military generals and admirals who had retired. Some of them were still in, but they had discovered the fraud. They had discovered the fictitious nature of the government, and they needed to come up with a strategic program in order to give the land back to the caretakers, which was the tribes. The problem now is not giving the land back to the tribes. The problem is if you give the land back to the tribes, they don't remember what to do with it. So you have to do everything in what they call drip fashion. Instead of come a point though where the drip is going to turn into the floodgates busting open. And that's when we going to get a lot of information that's going to verify what we can't give you receipts for, right? Like the Gitmo. They print, it's in print who's been executed at Gitmo, but the general conditioned public that's been subject to years of propaganda abuse, they don't accept that as valid because it didn't come on NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, Nightline, Dateline, Fox. Since it didn't come from no source, they consider the source as an unreliable source, even if the reporter that's reporting it is on the registry as a reporter and have the reporter credentials and it's sitting there in the tribunals while they taking place, the people still don't believe that it took place because they didn't see it yet on their mainstream media. Remember, I told you at the end, all of your favorite newscasters that work for the CIA gonna be gone. And then you're gonna have another group of news reporters that's gonna come in and they gonna be truthers. And they gonna be telling you news that the news normally wouldn't tell you. That's how you gonna know that the major upper 90% of the switch is taking place when the newscast change. The next thing you gotta look for is when they replace the police, the foreign military force, with the National Guard, because they know foreigners don't have more right than the people of the land to police the land. So in order to get rid of the foreign agents, you have to put National Guard in their stead until they can balance out the community again and get rid of crime.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, Rod. What's the deal with Larry Hoover? People, Kanye West talked about him a lot. I just mentioned Chance the Rapper said something about him. These are individuals that's from Chicago. Chicago's always in the news for some negative shit. They make it seem like they call it Chirac. They make it seem like you go to don't ever go to Chicago. You talked about who they vilify is somebody we need to look toward, and who they praise somebody we need to not support in terms of the media. For them to vilify and make Chicago look so horrible, like I'll give you an example. I hear so much things about New York and it sits on crystals, and this is why New York is so the Empire State or whatever. What the hell is it about Chicago that we may not be aware of, that our ancestors knew, that they know, that they don't want us there, that produces people like a Larry Hoover? Talk to me about Chicago and the history from our ancestors way back, whatever. Some spiritual, metaphysical talk, Rod, because there's something about this, the Nation of Islam, Minister Louis Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad. I could go on and on about Chicago. But what is it about Chicago, spiritually speaking, Rod?
All of these major cities, Chicago, New York, New Orleans, Miami, Atlanta, LA, Las Vegas, lesser Vegas than some of the other ones, but they all sitting on ancient metropolises. Those were cities long before Columbus ever got over here.
Okay.
Right? Chicago was a city long before John Baptiste DuSable was born.
Yeah, somebody saying Chicago is Haitian territory. What the hell? Yeah. Is that?
That's Baptiste DuSable. He was Haitian. And they give him credit with being the founder of Chicago. Mm-hmm. But the reason why Chicago was sparsely populated, because all of the people in Chicago, just like a lot of other major cities, went to Florida to fight in the Gullah Wars. That's why they couldn't beat us. Right now, the government know that we had what was called Grand Doula Centers. The Grand Doula Center in Chicago used to be exactly where Cook County Hospital was. Ancient souls tend to come back to the certain places based on when they're going to be born. So they follow the metropolis's stellar alignment. Every city has a zodiac sign, right? Based on birth date, or what they call date of charter. And the corporate charters have an expiration date, but they don't tell us that all of this stuff have an expiration date. But this is the reason why Congress did the 400-year recognition. That was recognition in 2019 of 400 years of warfare, of invasion and colonization by what they call the Israelites. We know we naturally godly people, but we also are aware tribally that God don't favor rod over rich or rich over rod. But rich and rod both have a different job in the overall scheme, and God wants us both to do our job as effectively as possible and sometimes it bring people together, but sometimes it divide people and separate them. When you're talking about the proper conditions for a leader to rise up from an oppressed people, they have to have a strong congregation of the people that's oppressed in order for it to be a fertile soil for a new leadership to rise up. You have to live through the experience of the condition in order to figure out how to solve the condition, right? So if you don't know how to, if you didn't come from an area, you don't really understand a problem until you go there and spend some time there,
Okay.
right? So, like New York, the five boroughs, the five different tribes that made up the boroughs before colonization. It was a five-tribe confederacy. It's the same way that the Iroquois had one and the Cherokee had one. But the tribes that was touched up against each other made agreements to prevent war. We didn't need war. We knew how to communicate with each other. We knew how to talk. We knew how to respect each other. We knew how to honor each other with rights to dissent from what our opinion is without getting all blowed out of shape. Now, a dude come to you can run this whole broken plan down about breaking into the bank in the middle of the night and robbing the vault. That's not going to happen. But as soon as you tell them that's not going to happen, oh, man, you a hater.
Yeah, man.
Right? Because it's conditioning. But when you go to any part of the country, we had major, you could still see the mounds. Everywhere you see a mound, that used to be a city. The mounds was created as a centerpiece of a city. Right? It's easier to see it in Mesoamerica than it is where the foliage has covered it up with greenery in the main north and south. Like it's a whole monkey village under the forest in the Amazon. It's a Hanuman village, actually, but they call it the monkey village. Hanuman is another name for Tahuti.
What's another
name? It is what you call Hanuman. Hanuman is spoke about in the Ramayana as a companion to Lord Ram. Right? But in China, they call him Sun Wukong. Same character, different culture. Right? And the monkeys is symbolic of the monkey mind. If you can tame the monkey mind and gain control of the mind, the rogue aspect of the mind, then you begin to access information that other people can't.
Right, this is a good point. They said the Hanuman tribe was in Black Panther. Black Panther 1. I remember see. I didn't see Black Panther 2, but I remember in Black Panther 1 they were mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the what's my man name in BK and Biku was the king of the gorilla clan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still now if you pay attention to the dynamic, they telling you in the theatrical performance that T'Challa, the Black Panther, aka Tupac, out of Oakland, is calling for the chief of the gorilla clan.
Out of Oakland, right? Killmonger was out of Oakland, right?
T'Challa was too.
Okay, I didn't. Okay, shit.
When you go to the beginning of the movie, they in Oakland, California, looking at a UFO. Or it might be the end of the movie, right? But that's because T'Challa father or uncle went to school there, right? T'Challa ended up moving there later, but Killmonger was an illegitimate son, but he was a rightful heir, right? Just because you're the heir don't mean you're gonna take the throne. Because if you don't do what's required to show yourself approved, they're not gonna let you take the throne, even if they had to execute you. They're not putting no tyrants on the throne no more. That's a done deal.
Right. Wow. Let me get to a couple of questions that you got the chat. Boom. We got about 4,200 people in the chat. I want to get to a couple of questions from y'all. Before I do, I want to have Rod tie all of this together. And we're gonna talk about this Virgo season and things that's on on the way coming down now. So but before we do, make sure y'all put some questions in the chat. I do want to give y'all, I know y'all coming here deep to see Rod. I do want to give y'all an opportunity to ask the brother some questions. But Rod, I having a conversation, and try to keep it on the subject, y'all, because y'all start asking why my mama don't like me. You know what I'm saying? Why my mama always mistreated me and shit. I'm not trying to, down that, but goddamn, at least try to keep it relatable to what we're talking about right now, family. Rod, man, you talking about shit is heating up, people feel it in the air. I had to talk with Phil a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, something is in the air. People could feel it. We're programmed the atmosphere with certain thoughts, certain vibrations. It's only a matter of time before something happens, Rod. I talked to you. You said, Rich, something big gonna happen in Virgo season around August, September, October, around those months. Based on what you're seeing going on right now, Rod, let's talk about that. I see you made a lot of predictions, my brother. You made a lot of things that I didn't know if you was on it or not. Turned out that you was right. What's going on? What do you see happening this year during Virgo season? By the way, Virgos are the absolute best people on earth. I just want to say that to everybody.
Spoken like a true Virgo.
Yeah, I'm just messing with y'all.
I didn't make predictions. I was reading the culture. I was reading the stars, and the story is there. So when you're reading the stars, you know that when certain stellar events happen, based on which constellation it is, it takes a certain amount of time for that energy to reach Earth. That's called turnaround time. It's the same way when you do a manifestation. From the time you put it in the universe to the time that it returned back to you is called your turnaround time. So based on what I'm seeing with the Schumann resonance, the solar flares, the stellar alignments, the full moons, the eclipses, and all of this, is